Hey everybody, welcome back to the Working Man's Whiskey. I'm Bobby. Happy Friday night, everybody. Happy preseason football. My Niners are, I gotta tell you guys, gotta represent my Niners. I love football, love my Niners. I know some of you are probably gonna have something to say about that, but it's all fun. You know, I'm happy to talk a little trash with you guys. You know, as long as you know it's all in fun. You know, we can keep on drinking whiskey together, no matter who we root for. So, anyway, tonight's review is Canadian Club. It's premium extra aged blended Canadian whiskey. Canadian Club is one of the most iconic whiskeys, I would say, in the world. Very well known. But I got to tell you guys, of all the whiskey I've had in my life, all the whiskeys I've tried from everywhere, I have never had this whiskey. Not once. This bottle is not open. And so this is going to be, you know, a blind taste test here, a blind review. And just wanted to see, you know, what I thought of the stuff. I've heard a lot of good things about it over the years. There's really no reason that I haven't had this, other than the fact that it's never been anywhere that I've been. I mean, it's available in stores, of course, but I've never, you know, had a buddy have a bottle of Canadian Club whiskey at his house. You know, just when I've gone to stores that have Canadian Club, there's always been something else that I wanted to try. So that's why I got this little bottle here. Thought we'd try it out before we go with the full-size bottle. A full-size bottle is not going to break your wallet, so that's not why. There are other whiskeys that I'd like to buy and review. Even though this is usually only about $16-17 a bottle for the full-size bottle, you know, I just didn't want to go invest in the full size until I try it out. So here we are. Let me tell you a little bit about Canadian Club. It was introduced in 1858 by a guy named Hiram Walker, and he lived in Michigan. I think he was from the Detroit area. And Hiram Walker started out, he had his own grocery store, and he started out distilling cider vinegar. And as the years went on, that was about 1830s or so that he started distilling vinegar. He started distilling whiskey, you know, closer to the 1850s. In 1858, he created this, which at the time, he called it was just club whiskey. And the reason for that was it was very popular in gentlemen's clubs back then in that area. And so it was just called club whiskey at the time. And then as the years went on, the threat of prohibition started to come around a little bit, and Hiram Walker decided to up and leave, take his whiskey making across the border to Canada, the Ontario area, I believe, and started making it over there, club whiskey, and all of a sudden his American kind of rivals, competitors, said, hey, you know, if you're going to sell your whiskey over there and you're going to compete with us, you're going to tell people where that stuff is from, where you're making it now. So they kind of forced him to include, you know, Canada in the label. So he started calling it Canadian Club instead of just club whiskey. So kind of an interesting story. You know, the history on these whiskeys it's always fun for me. And this is no exception. Even though I haven't tried this whiskey out, it's a cool story how they kind of came to be. So, excuse me. So, Canadian Club, he held on to it for years and years. I think he left it to his son, Hiram Walker, and then it just passed through several hands throughout the years. And like a lot of these whiskeys we review, this is now owned by Jim Beam. And I mean, I feel like, a good half the whiskeys anyway that we review now are in the hands of Jim Beam, which is not a bad thing at all. Jim Beam is great, and a lot of these whiskeys that end up with Beam, these historical whiskeys, Old Crow and Old Overhaul, Old Granddad, I believe. These are all Beam products, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, not sure how close to the original product this is. I would hope that they've kept this somewhat similar to what they were making in the past. I know whiskeys change as years go on, but each whiskey needs to have its own identity. So let's open this up, see what we have here. Canadian Club, by the way, guys, is, I believe, 5 years old. I believe they age it for 5 years. So let's see. Other than that, it's 80 proof, 40% ABV. And it says imported and bottled by Canadian Club Import Company in Deerfield, Illinois. So, like a lot of whiskeys, even ones that come from overseas, the U.S. still has a lot to do with them. This one included. So, take a look at the color here, guys, and it's not a dark color by any means, but it's also not too light. It's a nice kind of a dark gold, if I had to, go with the color, light caramel color. But it's it's your nice average looking whiskey. So let's give it a nose. Okay, guys. on the nose here, I'm definitely getting some vanilla, getting some kind of light fruit flavors there. A little bit of wood, definitely some maltiness here. There's definitely some maltiness going on, and it's a fine smelling whiskey. It really is. I kind of hesitated at first, guys, when I bought this. It's a little bottle, so there's nothing to lose here. Even the big bottle, if you want to pay $16-17, it's not gonna hurt the wallet too much. But I hate to sound, like I'm talking trash about anybody. I'm not. This is not meant as criticism, but maybe it's because I haven't had too many Canadian whiskeys. I've had Crown, of course, and a few others. But of the whiskeys out there, of American bourbon and and Tennessee whiskey and Scotch and Irish whiskey and things like that. Out of all the whiskeys I've tried, I haven't warmed up to Canadian whiskey as much. So I think that's another reason why I've always kind of passed on this. There's nothing wrong. Everybody's got their own taste, guys. And that's fine. I hate when people put their palate ahead of somebody else's because it's just it's pointless. If something tastes good to you, go with it. And for me, Canadian whiskey's just always been okay. I'll drink it, and I don't think it's bad, but there are other whiskeys I just prefer. So anyway, when I smell this though, I don't get. Maybe it's because Canadian Club originally started in the U.S. When it was just club whiskey, but I don't get the same notes that I get in a lot of Canadian whiskeys. Maybe a few, maybe that kind of little bit of maltiness there. But I don't know, guys. I just want to go in for a taste. See what we have here. And guys, I am actually pleasantly surprised. This is it's a nice tasting whiskey. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. Not one of my preferred flavors, but it's a very good whiskey. It's Definitely got some malty notes in there. Definitely a little bit of wood and vanilla. Kind of the same things I get on the nose. You know, a little bit of light fruit in there as well. Maybe some citrus type notes in there. It's a fine whiskey. You know, I mean, I wouldn't mind sipping on this stuff. You know, or mixing it up with something. But you know, it's a fine whiskey in its own right. And you know, I probably would buy this again. I'd probably get a full bottle next time and you know, put it in my cabinet along with you know, some of my other favorites. You know, I like to have a variation in my cabinet when I can, and this is no exception. This would be fine on my shelf, no problem at all. So for a rating, guys, you know, I'm not gonna mark it too high, but I give it a solid, you know, let's say 81 out of 100. Solid B minus whiskey. You know, that's not a bad grade at all in my book. Like I said, there are whiskeys that I prefer, but as for a Canadian whiskey, I mean, I really like this one. And of the Canadian whiskeys I've had, I would definitely sip on this one before a lot of the other ones. I mean, Crown, you know, I mix Crown up when we go on camping trips or whatever. I throw it in just a different cocktails all the time. But you know, this one, no problem sipping this. So 81 out of 100, guys. I have another whiskey lined up for my next review. It's still not Basil Hayden's. I'm gonna put that one on the back burner for now. You know, we've been doing some Jim Beam products lately, and you know, I want to put some other whiskeys up there too. So the next one we're reviewing is still a very iconic name, and it's a very special edition whiskey from this company. So I look forward to doing that with you guys maybe this weekend. You know, I've got a few things coming up this weekend that you know, kind of take priority over that. But if I have time, say tomorrow or Sunday, I'll definitely be back on here with you guys. And look forward to talking to y'all. Hope you have a good weekend. And until next time, cheers.